Afternoon everybody, it's Aid from Skidmore second-hand tyres here. I've been around the charity shops looking for bits and pieces for, well, I always go around looking in them anyway, for either work clothes or for anything else that sort of looks like it can be misappropriated for something else. And I've had some lucky finds just recently. I've got a white, I'm not sure if it's real crocodile skin or printed crocodile skin leather handbag from a place in Ashford, and I thought I could use that to make some neck sheaths for the neck knives, and so I'm going to take it apart and have a look into whether I can get any out of it. I think I can, I'm pretty sure I can, just make some very simple ones. And I've tried dyeing it just with some black ink, but I think I might try some black spray paint. A friend of mine actually covered, I'm not sure whether he used spray paint or, I think more likely actually it was some gloss paint and a paintbrush, painted the whole green Chesterfield sofa white because it fitted in with his new house, which was an old Georgian one, and the living room was all white, floorboards and everything, and it worked a treat. So I might try painting it and using that, and hopefully you'll get some sheaths out of it for the neck knives that you saw in previous videos. And then next to that is a bag I picked up the other day, again for £3 from the charity shop, and it's lovely thick leather, and I thought it might do to make a new scabbard for sheath for this knife, because it looks like it'll blend better with the walnut. But unfortunately it's not quite big enough to be able to get the belt loop in as well, so that will be saved for some other things. I've got some more projects on the go that are a bit smaller than that knife. It is a nice colour leather and it would have gone well with that, but without, I wanted to keep it so that that loop was all one part of the sheath, so you know, yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, so use it for something else. So I'm going to take that bag apart and install the leather nice and flat, and then over here is some high gear cooking pots and a frying pan, which I got from again from a charity shop. I think that was the Cat Protection League. We used to call it the Ace shop because everything in there was £1.49, and it's gone up to £1.99 now. But there's 3 pots, or 2 pots and a frying pan, and I figured that unfortunately the kettle only fits in that one. You can't shut the lid on the smaller saucepan, because that would have been ideal then for trips out, because I could cook in the saucepan and use the kettle, or you know, any combination really. But I suppose I can still boil up water in the saucepan and have the frying pan, so I could do boil in the bag stuff like rice, and then still be able to fry sausages and steaks. So I'll be able to take out all 3 things, or and the kettle, or 2 things and the kettle, and it's a slightly larger cook set than some, but it's not bad size. So they're the 3 bargains I've had so far, and I'll be adding to this video as I do things, or maybe there might be in the separate videos, I don't know. All those little short videos, you end up writing comments on comments, and I prefer to do a few things in one go. So I'll get back to you later when there's some progress. Cheers, bye. Right, I've spent a happy hour or two pulling these leather bags apart, and I've got all the sides of that heavy leather bag were made of chain links of leather, and I've put them all together a different way, and I've got myself a strap for a guitar, or maybe one of my ukuleles, and that looks nice and heavy. And then the white, it was faux crocodile, it's leather that's been stamped out to look like crocodile skin. I can make 4 pouches with the back of that and some of the sides, and then I've got a piece of the heavy bag, the front of the heavy bag, I'm going to make some welts out of to put inside. That'll stiffen it up and also protect the blade from cutting through the leather. So they're the future projects now. I shall be chopping that up and sticking and sewing them together soon, one at a time, obviously through in the evenings or something, and then spraying them black so that they blend in nice. Yeah, it always made me laugh. I was thinking about Nigel painting his sofa with gloss paint, but none of it had come off. It looked fantastic. Right, so I'll get back to you soon. Well, here we are, a few deft strokes of a Stanley knife and a drill and a scalpel, and I've made and fitted the leather pieces together and onto the strapping, and put it on my sitter-lele. This is a cross between a ukulele and a sittern shape with ukulele tuning, and I've been a fan of the ukulele for a number of years, and I like playing this one. And it's a bit of an awkward shape, so putting a strap on it isn't such a bad idea. It makes it nice and stable then. So that's one of the bonuses of finding stuff and reappropriating it, because it didn't cost me a penny really, because that was just the bits and pieces that were tying the sides of the bag together. So it's been reappropriated and will be used now, and it's going to last for years. Well, since the last clip I've in this vid, there's been a change of plan slightly. Cuckoo brought home this leather tool bag that he'd found chucked in a skip, and he said, I think you can use this for your sheaths, and it's nice thick leather. So I've made one sheath already. I've done a couple of free templates and come up with this one. I think it's still slightly too small, certainly for my my neck knife, because the handle's thicker on that, but it fits this really nice. It's not going anywhere, got a lace on it, and I put a loop on of paracord on the end, as I'd seen Chris Astex do on the one that I sent him, and just buffed it up with a bit of polish and some beeswax on the welt, and I'm going to make the next one slightly bigger around, so that it's not such a tight fit for my knife handle. So I'll get back to you when I've got some progress on that. As well as starting on the leather work, I've been working with some of the bits of tool steel that I had to make some carving knives. What you're seeing here at the moment is a handle being glued onto a bit of the saw blade that you saw in one of the previous videos about tempering and hardening the knives. So as well as that saw blade, which I've done as a double beveled knife, these two are single beveled knives, like a chisel grind, and it's my intention to use them for carving some spoons. And when you're cutting through the grain, it strikes me as being easier if you're using a single beveled blade than sometimes than a normal double beveled blade. And they got maple handles on, the same as the saw blade that's clamped up to glue dry. And I've done two different shapes of handle because I don't know which shape works best, but they started off as square stock, and I've sort of filed and sanded them down, and they're nice and sharp. And I did some experimental carving with them, which we'll see in a minute, and they've turned out quite nice. They're only very short. I think they're about 70 mil long, 75 mil, something like that. So they're not too big, but the handles are a nice size, and they're quite nice to carve with. And I'll show you the next bits now. This is a Ben Orford crook knife, which I bought the other day. I ordered it, I think, on Sunday evening. Saturday evening it must have been, and it arrived on Tuesday. And it was because I'd seen Foz from Forrester Bushcraft do a demo. I found a video of his from last year where he used one, and I had started to make a spoon knife or a crook knife myself out of another bit of that saw blade, and unfortunately when I was trying to put a set in it, I had it heated up to cherry red with a gas bottle, and unfortunately when I was trying to bend it, I got so far with putting a set in it as it leaves the handle, and it went ping and flew off into goodness knows where in the garage. So I've lost it. Well, it was broken, so it was ruined anyway. So it's either because I didn't take the hardness out of it properly when I did it some time ago in the series of videos about the neck knives, or it's just not the right sort of stuff to use. But this is made of 01 tool steel. It's as sharp as you like, and it carved this just as a little exercise with a bit of a sliver of the maple that was left, and it carved this little spoon along with those two little knives for doing the outside work on it. And it really is lovely to use, and it's really nicely made. It feels gorgeous in your hand, and I'm pleased I bought it, and it's given me more of an idea about how to go about making one myself. So I should really maybe have done that in the first place, and then I could use that as a pattern to work from. But I can't believe how good it is to use. I've made spoons in the past when I've used an out can or gouge to carve the bowl, and this is so much easier. It's actually counterintuitive to what I originally imagined, because you actually cut towards you. The bevel is towards you. Again, it's a single bevel, but it cuts towards you, which is sort of like quite counterintuitive, but it just works so easy and it's very easy to control. That handle is just perfect, so I'm very pleased to own it, and so far I think it's going to do me well for me to go into doing a bit of spoon carving, and yeah, it's a useful tool. So up next we've got some little bits and pieces to look at and talk about, so we'll set them up and show you. This is my neck knife, and I made the sheath from more of that tool bag that Cuckoo brought round to me. It's funny because the bag itself, the leather, is quite sort of supple and pliable, but once you've wet it and started to mould it and to the knife, it becomes quite rigid, and I used just ordinary wax string to sew it together with. There's a welt in there as well, and I use a ordinary fork out the cutlery drawer to mark the stitch holes, and then drill them on the pillar drill, and do, I think it's called box stitching, where you use 2 needles and you just sew from alternate sides, and like saddle stitch or something to hold it all together. Just glue it up and then drill the holes. And I'm really quite pleased. This is probably about the neatest one I've done. And so, like everything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So I'm quite pleased with that. Again, I put some boot polish on it, black boot polish on it, just to tone it down a little bit. And I think I'm quite pleased with the results. It can either hang around my neck or on the belt loop, the same as the other one. And it's got the little pinky finger loop on the end of the handle as well. And then up next we've got something else which I'm really quite pleased with, so I'll show you that now. This is another knife I made with the intention of using it for carving with. It's just an offcut from a piece of flat stock, that two more flat stock that I had left over, and I thought it's not long enough to make a full tang knife, so it's a 3/4 tang knife, and I just sort of freestyled it on the grinding wheel to get the shape. And it's a bit like a kitchen knife, I suppose, in a lot of ways, but it turned out to be far better than I was expecting. So it's not quite as broad a blade as the Neckers, but it comes to a fine point and is quite a shallow sweep, and I've just been extremely pleased with the way it turned out. So I did take a template from it before I put the scales on, and I've got some more flat stock, so I might make another one with a full tang. It's only really for light carving work, although like the little Neckers, you can probably batten through a bit of wood with it quite nicely. And I've used it for actually used it as a leather cutting knife as well, for making the cutting out the sheaths as well. And it sort of, you hold it like a pen, and it really does slice through very easily. And so I'm very pleased with that. It's got ebony scales and a bit of mahogany as a inset on the end to fill in the gap where the tang ends. So I've got a feeling I might make one or two more of those. See what happens. And also, whilst I was tempering these, I did do another couple of Neckers and a couple of knives for my brother and sister-in-law, so I'll show you those next. Okay, so obviously we've got two Neckers, the same design as you've previously seen, and that was, I think they were, well, there was a half a bar of flat stock left, so I thought I'd use it up. And because I got a commission from my brother to make two of these, and they are for mushrooming. Him and his missus, they go out mushrooming in September time when it's the right, and he said, oh well, it'd be nice to have a knife for doing that with. And they're sort of, I looked and found one film on collecting that had someone using, they think they used a folder with that on. I think it's a bit like a pruning knife sort of design, so it sort of can hook the through the mushroom. So I shall get them sharpened up and maybe polished, who knows, and scaled up, and then I shall be passing them on to him and Natasha, so hopefully they'll be pleased with those when they're finished. There's a cat that keeps coming down from the other end of the street who I think is an old Tom, and he sort of hears me in the workshop, and he sits the other side of the hedge calling out to me. He's a nice cat, but he does come in and eat all the food of our cats, so he may even be squaring up to one of the other cats from our end at the moment. Yeah. Oh well. Right, so that's the end of the show and tell today. I haven't got anything else much to show, no. I'll see you all soon. Cheerio.